PlayStation Vita.
The PlayStation Vita is a handheld game console manufactured and marketed by Sony Computer Entertainment. It is the successor to the PlayStation Portable as part of the PlayStation brand of gaming devices. It was released in Japan and parts of Asia on December 17, 2011, in Europe, North America, South America and Singapore on February 22, 2012, and in Australia on February 23, 2012. It primarily competes with the Nintendo 3DS, as part of the 8th generation of consoles. The handheld includes two analog sticks, a 5-inch, 130mm, OLED multi-touch capacitive touchscreen, and supports Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and optional 3G internally. The Vita features a quad-core ARM Cortex-A9 MPCORE processor and a quad-core SGX 543MP graphics processing unit, as well as Live Area software as its main user interface, which succeeds the XOSS Media Bar. A redesigned PS Vita model, the PCH 2000 series, was released in Japan on October 10, 2013. The new system is 20% thinner, 15% lighter, has an additional hour of battery life, has moved from OLED to LCD, includes a non-proprietary micro-USB port, and 1 GB of internal storage memory. The PlayStation Vita TV, which allows players to play PS Vita games on a television, was released in Japan on November 14, 2013. The redesigned model was released in the United Kingdom on February 7, 2014 and will be released in the United States on May 6, 2014.
History. Pre-announcement.
Rumors of a successor to the PlayStation Portable came as early as July 7, 2009 when Eurogamer reported that Sony was working on such a device, which would utilize the PowerVR SGX 543MP processor and perform at a level similar to the original XBOX. In addition, on July 7, 2010, a report by the Wall Street Journal revealed that a new portable device is currently in development by Sony and that it shares characteristics of game machines, e-book readers and netbook computers. Prior to its announcement by Sony Computer Entertainment, several sites such as Kotaku, VG247, MCV and IGN, as well as the senior vice president of major video game publisher Electronic Arts and Nikkei had confirmed that the handheld existed. Shuhei Yoshida, president of Sony Computer Entertainment Worldwide Studios, had admitted in an interview that they were indeed developing new hardware in the PlayStation family of gaming devices. Development kits for the handheld had reportedly already been shipped to numerous video game developers including both first-party and third-party developers. On November 17, 2010, VG247 released pictures of an early prototype version of the PSP successor showing a PSP Go-like design along with two analog sticks, two cameras and a microphone. The source of the pictures said that the pictures were of an older prototype version that had overheating issues, and that the design had subsequently been changed to that more similar of the original PlayStation Portable device. Kotaku and IGN corroborated the story, also claiming that the pictures were legitimate. The device was supposedly unveiled internally during a private meeting during mid-September held at Sony Computer Entertainment's headquarters in Aoyama, Tokyo. Shuhei Yoshida, president of Sony Computer Entertainment Worldwide Studios, revealed in an interview with UK Video Game Magazine, developed that when Ken Kitaraji left Sony Computer Entertainment, the new CEO, Kazuo Hirai, told him to engage SCE Worldwide Studios in the development of the next PlayStation. Yoshida also said that developers were present at the meetings from the very beginning when SCE was developing new hardware, and that SCE had to constantly keep talking with Worldwide Studios developer when developing the new hardware. Further confirmation came on September 16, 2010, during an interview at PAX 2010. Mortal Kombat executive producer Sean Hemerick revealed a successor to the PSP, referring to it as the PSP2, and stating, "We have a PSP2 in the house and we're looking at the engine, like what can it support? Always a big thing for us is the performance. We're running at 60 FPS, what can we do and do we have to build all the art assets over?" We're definitely looking at them. PSP2 looks like it's a pretty powerful machine. When asked about the PlayStation Portable successor during the Tokyo Game Show 2010, Shuhei Yoshida said that he could not answer the question, though he noted that personally, I cannot see Sony not making another portable gaming device. On November 2, 2010, Senior Vice President of Electronic Arts, Patrick Sodlund, confirmed that he had seen the PlayStation Portable successor when asked about it in an interview, though he could not divulge more details. On December 22, 2010, Sony Computer Entertainment CEO, Kazuo Hirai, answered questions about a potential successor to the PlayStation Portable in an interview with the New York Times, saying that they would impress gamers in the handheld market by using a combination of touch screens and buttons rather than touchscreen-only games on competing platforms such as the iPhone and iPod Touch. The device, then known by its codename Next Generation Portable, NGP for short, was announced on January 27, 2011 at the PlayStation meeting in Japan by Sony Computer Entertainment President Kazuo Hirai. The last time the name PlayStation meeting had been used was in 2005, where Sony outlined the launch plans for the PlayStation 3. In addition, MCV claimed that Sony has told publishers that the device would be as powerful as the PlayStation 3. Sony later denied this, with the SCA platform research manager stating, "Well, it's not going to run at 2 GHz because the battery would last 5 minutes and it would probably set fire to your pants." Sony also revealed that the device would be using a mix of retail and digital distribution of games, and that Sony would gradually reveal more details during Game Developers Conference 2011 and E3 2011.
Post-announcement.
On June 6, 2011 at E3 2011, Sony announced the name of the device would be PlayStation Vita, along with release and pricing information. The name was chosen because Vita means life in Latin. The device itself enables a combination of augmented reality gaming and social connectivity, along with the near and party services, nearby networking and cross-game conferencing applications, respectively. At the Game Developers Conference 2011, Sony revealed some details about the Vita cards during their next-generation portable panel. Another storage option, removable memory, was also revealed to be available for the PlayStation Vita. Sony also said they are implementing a single submission for both formats to streamline the process of getting games approved for both card-based and downloadable releases. Additionally, it was announced that only 3 of the 4 symmetrical CPU cores will be available to applications, along with 2 cameras, facial detection, head detection and tracking capabilities. Following the Tokyo Game Show, Sony Worldwide Studios president Shuhei Yoshida confirmed that the console would be region-free. Sony's Japanese arm told the Wall Street Journal that earlier reports, including those by SCEA President Jack Tretton, suggesting that Japan's recent earthquake would delay the release of the PlayStation Vita in some territories, were outright wrong. Sony representative Satoshi Fukuoka said he expects no impact from the quake on our launch plan. In August 2011, Sony confirmed that the system would be released by the end of 2011 in Japan, but not until early 2012 in European and North American regions. In October 2011, Sony announced that the system would be released on February 22, 2012 in Europe and North America. A limited edition was released in North America on February 15, 2012, a week earlier than the official launch, which included the 3G Wi-Fi model of the device, Wi-Fi model in Canada, the game Little Deviants, a limited edition carry case, and a 4 GB memory card. In May 2013, Sony announced that PlayStation 4 games that did not require the PlayStation camera would be compatible to be played through Remote Play on the PS Vita. On August 20, 2013, Sony confirmed that the Vita would receive a price drop in the US and Europe, taking effect immediately. The price would be now $199 in the United States and EU $199 in Europe. The Vita memory cards also dropped its prices, with the 4 GB memory card being cut to $14.99, the 8 GB card being cut to $19.99, the 16GB card cut to $39.99 and the 32GB card cut to $79.99.
Hardware.
The device features a super oval shape similar to the design of the original PlayStation Portable, with a 5-inch, 130mm, OLED capacitive touchscreen in the center of the device. The device features two analog sticks, unlike the PSP which features only a single analog nub, a D-pad, a set of standard PlayStation face buttons, and two shoulder buttons, L and R, a PlayStation button and start and select buttons. Internally, the device features an up to 2 GHz quad-core ARM Cortex-A9 MPCORE processor, 3 of the 4 cores are usable for applications, and a quad-core GPU GX 543 MP4+. The device also features a rear touchpad, 2 cameras, a front and a rear, stereo speakers, microphone, 6-axis motion sensing system, 3-axis gyroscope, 3-axis accelerometer, 3-axis electronic compass, built-in GPS receiver, only for the 3G version, as well as Wi-Fi, 3G, and Bluetooth 2.1 plus EDR connectivity. The two cameras feature the abilities of face detection, head detection, and head tracking. It also allows for customization and personalization. The PlayStation Vita has 512 MB of system RAM and 128 MB of VRAM. The amount of RAM allows cross-game chat to be used on the system. The PlayStation Vita has been released in 2 different variations, one with 3G and Wi-Fi support, and a cheaper version without 3G support, but still including Wi-Fi. The 3G service has been partnered with NTT Docomo in Japan, AT&T in the US, Rogers in Canada and Vodafone in Europe and Australia. Unlike the PSP 2000 and PSP 3000, the PS Vita does not have video output capabilities or a removable battery. Sony also confirmed during TGS 2011 that the battery would last 3 to 5 hours of gameplay, no network, no sound, default brightness level, 5 hours of video, and up to 9 hours of music listening with the screen off. An external battery option was announced in an interview by SCE Worldwide Studios president Shuhei Yoshida. PS Vita is equipped with a storage media slot in addition to the PS Vita card slot, so that users can choose their memory capacity based on their use.
PlayStation Vita game card.
Software for the PlayStation Vita is distributed on a proprietary flash memory card called PlayStation Vita Game Card rather than on Universal Media Discs, UMDs, as used by the PlayStation Portable. The size and shape of the card itself is very similar to an SD card. Some media applications and games require a proprietary PlayStation Vita memory card inserted to be used. 5 to 10% of the game card's space is reserved for game save data and patches.
PlayStation Vita memory card.
The PS Vita is incompatible with standard memory cards, such as SD cards, and instead stores data on proprietary PS Vita memory cards, which are available in sizes of 4 GB, 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB and 64 GB. As of the 3.10 system update, a maximum of 500 applications and games can be stored on the Vita's memory at any given time. When the limit is reached, applications or games must be moved or deleted in order to access those beyond the limit.
PlayStation Vita TV.
PlayStation Vita TV, or PS Vita TV, was announced on September 9, 2013 at a Sony Computer Entertainment Japan presentation. The device is a complete non-portable variant of the PlayStation Vita console system. Instead of featuring a display screen, the console connects to a television via HDMI, allowing users to play PlayStation Vita games in up to 1080p resolution using a DualShock 3 controller, with a later patch to provide functionality with PlayStation 4 controllers. Due to the difference in features between the controller and the handheld, certain Vita games that are dependent on the system's touchscreen, rear touchpad, microphone or camera, are not compatible with PS Vita TV. The device is said to be compatible with over 100 Vita games, as well as various digital PlayStation Portable, PlayStation and PC Engine titles. The system will support remote play compatibility with the PlayStation 4, allowing players to stream games from the PS4 to a separate TV connected to PS Vita TV, and will also allow users to stream content from video services such as Hulu and Nikoniko, as well as access the PlayStation Store. The system was released in Japan on November 14, 2013, both on its own and as part of a value bundle including a DualShock 3 controller and 8GB memory card. In the future, the PlayStation Vita TV can potentially play PlayStation 3 games via cloud-based streaming, according to Sony Computer Entertainment CEO Andrew House. House also states that the system is currently only announced for Asian markets, including China, where consoles had previously been banned, with no current plans for release in North America and Europe. In a later roundtable, Masayasu Ito stated they have noted Western gamers want PS Vita TV more than they thought, stating that Sony needed to figure out the best timing, or the possibility of additional features, before announcing a Western launch. According to Munki Shimada, Sony director of the second division of software development, the original PCH-1000 series PlayStation Vita already includes an upscaler that supports up to 1080p resolution. However, it was decided that the idea for video output for the original Vita was to be scrapped in favor for releasing the PlayStation Vita TV as a separate device for television connectivity. The inbuilt scaler has been removed from the PCH-2000 series PlayStation Vita model.
PCH-2000 series model.
The new PCH-2000 series system is a lighter redesign of the device that was announced at the SCEJA press conference in September 2013 prior to the Tokyo Game Show. The PCH-2000 series is commonly referred to as either the PS Vita Slim or the PS Vita 2000. The PS Vita Slim was released in Japan on October 10, 2013 in 6 colors: white, black, blue, yellow, pink, and olive green. On February 7, 2014, the new model was released in the UK, initially only in black and with a recommended retail price of PS £180. This model is 20% thinner and 15% lighter compared to the original model. It has an additional hour of battery life, which is most likely due to the switch from an OLED display to an LCD display. Some users have reported significant increase in battery life, even above what Sony stated in their original press release. The new device will have a micro USB Type-B port, which can be used to charge the device along with any standard micro USB cable. The PS Vita Slim has 1 GB of internal storage memory. Users are unable to use the 1 GB internal memory and any expandable storage simultaneously, as access to the internal memory is only possible if no memory card is inserted. Upon inserting a picosecond Vita memory card, the system will offer to copy the existing data from the internal memory to the new card. As of January 2014, the PCH-1000 series is no longer being manufactured.
Software. System software.
Unlike the PSP and PlayStation 3, the PlayStation Vita does not use the XOSS media bar interface. Instead, it uses a touchscreen-based UI dubbed Live Area, which includes various social networking features via the PlayStation Network. At launch, the PlayStation Vita web browser did not support the proprietary Adobe Flash. However, HTML5, cookies, and JavaScript were available. The PS Vita can boot into a safe mode in the event that it cannot start normally, allowing the user to update or restore the system's software. As a new feature of PlayStation Vita's Live Area, latest game information such as downloadable contents are shown on the Game Live Area. In addition, by scrolling down the Game Live Area, the activity of other users who are playing the same game can be checked instantly.
Games.
Most games are distributed by the PS Vita card and are sold in stores, while some games, such as Tales from Space, Mutant Blobs Attack, Superstar Dust Delta and Escape Plan, are distributed online and can only be purchased from the PlayStation Store. In addition, several third-party studios showcase technology demos of the device by exporting existing assets from their PlayStation 3 counterpart and then rendering them on the device. Some of the games that were demonstrated include Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, Yakuza, Dead Souls, Killzone 3, and Lost Planet 2. Monster Hunter Portable 3 was also demonstrated to be running on the device to showcase the device's backwards compatibility with downloadable PlayStation Portable titles, which was also shown to be compatible with the PlayStation Vita's additional analog stick. Unlike the PSP, the PlayStation Vita comes with trophy support for games. The device is also backwards compatible with most PlayStation Portable downloadable titles, PSN Classics downloadable titles, PlayStation Minis, PlayStation Mobile games, and videos from the PlayStation Store. On the Japan region PlayStation Network, PC Engine games are also available for download. On November 5, 2013, it was announced that Pocket Station format minigames would be playable on the Vita through the use of an application. These were the 25 launch games for the PS Vita when it was first released in North America.
Applications.
At Gamescom 2011, Sony announced that Facebook, Skype, Netflix, Twitter and Foursquare, later removed, would become available via the PlayStation Store. Additional applications available for download include Music Unlimited, FLICKR, Nico Nico, TuneIn Radio, NBA Game Time, NHL Gamma Center, Kello, Crunchyroll, Crackle, Hulu Plus, Redbox Instant and YouTube.
Layout. First generation model PCH 1000 series. Features. Cameras.
The device has two, front and rear, 0.3 megapixel cameras, both which run at 640x480, VGA, at 60 frames s, or at 320x240 at 120 frames s.
Backward compatibility.
The device is backwards compatible with most PlayStation Portable games. However, its lack of a UMD drive limits this capability to those titles which have been digitally released on the PlayStation Network via the PlayStation Store. PS1 classic titles were not compatible with the PS Vita at launch. However, Jack Tretton announced at the Electronic Entertainment Expo 2012 that they would be available for Vita in the future. Some PSN titles became available in System Software Update 1.80, released on August 28, 2012. The Vita's dual analog sticks are supported on PSP games. The right stick can be set to mimic either the D-pad, the left stick, the L and A buttons, or the face button cluster of the original PSP system. The graphics for PSP releases are upscaled, with an optional bilinear filter to reduce pixelation.
PlayStation 4.
The device can be used as a second screen device for the PlayStation 4 for streaming content directly from the console to the PlayStation Vita. Where supported, this allows a game to be played remotely. On May 30, 2013, it was announced that all games developed for the PlayStation 4, with the exception of games requiring the use of the PlayStation camera, will be playable on the Vita through remote play.
Reception.
PlayStation Vita received generally positive reviews from critics although it was criticized for its high price. Kotaku recommended the device, and described it as the most powerful and physically capable gaming handheld ever made. Connect.com gave the system a 4/5 stars. IGN gave the system an 8.5/10. The Gadget Show gave the Vita a 4/5, and called the system arguably the best handheld gaming experience around. In 2012, the PS Vita won T3's Gaming Gadget of the Year award, beating Nintendo's 3DS XL, OnLive and others. Despite acclaim for the PS Vita's hardware design, many have questioned its viability due to the emergence of game-capable smartphones and tablets. In December 2012, Victor Paul Alvarez, a shopping blogger on Yahoo, placed it on his list of biggest technology flops of 2012 because it lacked a killer app, notably the PS Vita exclusive title Call of Duty: Black Ops Declassified received negative reviews, while the multi-platform Call of Duty: Black Ops 2 had set sales records. The PS Vita was named number 8 on the MarketWatch Top 8 Product Flops of 2012 as its expensive launch price made it difficult to justify as a standalone device. The system's high price for its corresponding memory cards has also met harsh criticism. Survey from FAMSU, a few weeks before May 9, 2013, said that 46% were more or less satisfied or very satisfied with the PS Vita and availability of games. It also said that about 54% were less than satisfied with the handheld's limited amount of game titles. The average score of 1,500 respondents was 74.92.
Sales.
On December 17, 2011, the PlayStation Vita launched in Japan with around 325,000 units sold in the first few days. Sales dropped 78% in the second week ending on December 25, 2011 to 74,000 units sold. PlayStation Vita sales continued to drop in subsequent weeks, reaching its low since launch during the week of February 13, with only 12,309 units being sold in Japan. During the same week, it was outsold by its predecessor, the PSP, which sold 14,824 units. After its global release, Sony announced on February 28, 2012 that the Vita has sold 1.2 million units worldwide, in addition to 2 million game units. The sales number was 2.2 million units at the end of June 2012. PlayStation Vita sales continued to drop in subsequent weeks, reaching its all-time low during the week of November 5, 2012, with only 4,021 units being sold in Japan. In North America, from November 18 to November 24, 2012, Black Friday week, 160,000 units were sold. After a price cut from Y equals 24,980 to Y equals 19,980 on February 28, 2013, sales increased nearly 6 times, with figures for the week of February 25 to March 3 up from 11,456 to 62,543. The Vita outsold the Wii U in Japan from February 18 to February 24, shortly before its price cut. During the following week, the Vita maintained strong sales, outselling the Nintendo 3DS for the first time in Japan. During the week following June 30, 2013, sales of the PlayStation Vita in Japan spiked to 31,271 units following the release of Toukiden, overtaking sales of the Nintendo Wii U and PlayStation 3. Vita sales during that week significantly increased over the 13,422 Vita consoles sold in Japan during the previous week. It was later announced in November 2013 prior to the PlayStation Awards 2013 that Toukiden was the top-selling PlayStation Vita game for 2013. The PlayStation Vita TV sold 42,172 units during its debut week of release in Japan. The PS Vita TV was heavily marketed alongside God Eater 2, which was released on the same day as the PS Vita TV and sold 266,326 picosecond Vita copies, placing it at the top of the Japanese software sales charts for that week. Sales for the PlayStation Vita increased to 81,111 units in Japan for the week ending January 5, 2014. This was due in part to the release of Final Fantasy XX2 HD Remaster, which sold 149,132 copies during its first week.